G'day everybody and welcome to week 4 of Susies Selections, where we'll be covering round 4 of the AFL and round 2 of the Hampton League.
Are you getting everything you deserve? At Sinclair Wilson, we can answer all of your financial questions, optimise your tax position and develop long-term strategies which will be very much to your advantage. Sinclair Wilson, for strength in numbers.
9 out of 9 last week, everybody. Fantastic effort. Thank you very much to all those on Facebook and Twitter who convinced me to tip Port, and thank you very much to the coin for landing on heads as well. That certainly helped out. But we'll start things off. Tonight it is Richmond versus Melbourne at the MCG. Now of course Melbourne has taken a step up again this season, but they're not quite getting to the stage where they're getting the wins on the board yet. Richmond, after a big win against Brisbane last week, I think will have all the momentum going into this match and will get the win tonight. And then a very special day on Saturday with our Anzac Day matches. First of all, we go across the ditch to New Zealand, where St Kilda will be hosting Carlton. Carlton hasn't had a great start to the year, as it's been very well documented, but hopefully they can get things together this week and get the win to hopefully lessen a bit of the pressure on the side. St Kilda will put up a fight, but they'll be without captain Nick Riewoldt again, who's still out with his calf complaint. And then it's a big one at the MCG between Essendon and Collingwood. Collingwood will be taking a lot of momentum into this game after a big win last week, but Essendon has started the year fantastically and they've got the skill, the heart and the spirit, I think, to get the win on the big stage. And then it's the battle of the two expansion clubs, with Greater Western Sydney hosting Gold Coast at Star Trek Oval in Canberra. Gold Coast took a step up last week without Gary Ablett. The other players seemed to realise they needed to lift, but GWS has been very impressive so far to start this year. They took the challenge up to Sydney last week, and I think at this stage of the season they're a bit more advanced than the Suns and will get the win. Then it's Port Adelaide versus Hawthorn at Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide did very well last week, finally got that first win on the board. They'll be very impressive again at home, but given how well Hawthorn did against Western Bulldogs and how well they have started the year, I'm thinking they're a bit more advanced at this stage, same as GWS was. And I think they should get the win, but I think it's going to be a close one. Port will push them for all it's worth, but Hawthorn's class will shine through in the end. And finally, Fremantle versus Sydney at Subiaco. Freo has been phenomenal to start the season. They essentially won the game in a quarter last week and then just cruised to victory against West Coast. I think even against last year's grand finalists they'll be too good and they'll get the win. Then Sunday, it's Brisbane versus West Coast at the Gabba. Those sides have been pretty hard hit by injuries so far this year. West Coast last week would have had shivers going down their spine with Jeremy McGovern injuring his knee. Not as bad as first thought, but it was the last thing they needed. I'm thinking that Brisbane might just be able to stumble across the line in this one and get their first win for the year. It's a hard one to pick though. And then it's Geelong versus North Melbourne at Simmons Stadium. Gonna have a bit of a first here tonight, people. I'm thinking that Geelong might lose. I don't think I've ever tipped against them before in my life. But North Melbourne were really great last week against Port. Probably unlucky not to get the win. Either one who lost that game would have been unlucky, so it's a great contest. And I think they're just a bit more up and running than Geelong at the moment. And so in the battle of the Scott twins, I think it's Brad who's going to get the chocolates. And then finally we've got Western Bulldogs versus Adelaide at Etihad Stadium. Western Bulldogs will be really disappointed with their efforts in Tasmania against Hawthorn last week. They will lift again, they will be hopefully back to what we saw at the start of the season, but I think it's hard to tip against Adelaide, given they are undefeated at this stage, so I'm sticking with them to make it 4 from 4. Now it's across to round 2 of the Hampton League, where we have matches being played on both Saturday and Sunday with a few specialty Anzac Day features. Now bear with me, we'll be chopping and changing between the 2 days a bit, just because we're sticking with the order of matches from the official season fixture. To start things off, it's Hamilton Kangaroos versus Portland at Melville Oval. I'm tipping the Kangaroos at home here. Hard to judge early in the season, but I think both clubs are in similar positions, and so I'm just thinking the Roos at home should get the job done. I reckon it might be a bit of a close one though. Then we skip to Sunday, where we've got Warrnambool versus South Warrnambool at Reed Oval. What was I thinking tipping against Warrnambool last week? They were phenomenal. Once again, outstanding, and they're going to be the team to beat this season. It's a bit of a no-brainer. Warrnambool Blues for me in this one. Back to Anzac Day, where it's Camperdown versus Cobden at Lura Oval. Both young sides had really good wins to start the season off last week. Different kinds of wins. Obviously Camperdown came home really strongly, whereas Cobden houseway pretty much throughout their match. I think it's going to be another really close one here. It's going to be great to watch it. I'm tipping Camperdown purely because it's their home game, though it's worth noting that Cobden has won the first 2 Anzac Day clashes between the clubs. Also on Anzac Day, we have Terang Mortlake versus Koroit at Terang Recreation Reserve. The Bloods will be really disappointed with their second half fade out against the Eagles last week, and they'll be looking for a bit of redemption. They'll have to do it without co-captain Damien O'Connor, who was suspended for 3 weeks for striking, but they have the talent there, I think, to cover the loss, and they certainly have the skill to get the win at home. It'll be a tough task, but they've got it in them. And finally, back on Sunday, we've got Port Fairy versus North Warrnambool Eagles at Gardens Oval. I should have probably tipped Port Fairy last week, kind of regret that I didn't, so I'm not going to make that mistake twice in a row. The Seagulls for me against the Eagles at home. And that's it for week 4 of Susies Selections. Everybody feel free to share your thoughts and tips below. And everybody, happy tipping.